Dear friends, followers of S Healthcare CNM TV, once again, thank you so much for following our channel. As the director and CEO of S Healthcare CNM TV, this is the presentation, special one, exclusively for explaining the use of copper and the health benefits of copper. Many people ask me about copper. You man, we can see you with the copper items. On your phone, you have copper. On your specs, you have copper. Everywhere, even on your keys, you have copper. Why that copper? Even on your watch, you have copper. So, what is the use of that copper? All those questions are important because you are eager to know the truth about copper and how it can help human being to fight some diseases and disorders. So, we are going to use a document which is going to help us to provide some explanations, scientifically based, about copper. We have so many documents, but we have selected one only to give clear information about copper, especially copper for killing viruses, bacteria, fungi, and even other microorganisms which are harmful to human body. Copper can be biocidal material. So, we are going to see how copper can be used to kill bacteria, viruses, fungi, and prevent even food-borne diseases, to fight mites, loads, fungal, and treat wounds and prevent wound infections. So we're going to see also how copper is one of the best materials the world will need for the future in water filtration, decontaminating blood, and even decontaminating breast milk. So that one also, basing on these findings, copper will be a very good tool or a very good material for treating many things. Friends, to make things clear, let me give you one example. You may go on Google and you write copper use for prevention of hospital-acquired infection. Copper use for prevention of hospital-acquired infection. You will see what information we find there. Another key word you can use the PDF book for copper materials for wound treatment or wound healing. You will see information you get. You get another information. You go and use another keyword saying how to use copper to prevent cross-contamination on public places. How to use copper materials to avoid cross-contamination on public places. So those keys, you will find more information about how copper can be used, and you may use another word saying how to use copper on household utensils to prevent foodborne disease. How to use copper in agriculture to prevent contamination of fungus on agriculture crops. So you may use any key, including copper, on Google, and you get information. So those people who ask me about copper, me, I'm not the seller of any item of copper. But what I do, I'm a researcher. And the good things I find in what I'm doing research on, I apply on myself for my health. Yeah, so that's it. Then let's continue our information about explanation about copper. I have told you that copper can be antiviral, biocide, fungicide, nasal infection, anti-infection, and wound healer or wound healing material. So let's see biocidal properties of copper and copper compounds. The ancient Greeks in time of Hippocrates, that is in the time of 400 before Christ, before our Savior Yeshua HaMashiach Emmanuel coming to be a human. He was there, but he himself changed into a human being in order to come to save a human soul. So they were the first to discover the sanitizing power of copper, meaning before this time of modern medicine, in some parts of the world, people used to use copper materials and copper compounds to sanitize things. They prescribed copper for pulmonary diseases and for purifying drinking water. Since then, copper has been used as a biocide by many civilizations, such as the Celts, the Phoenicians, Egyptians, Hindus, Aztecs, for treating sores and skin diseases and for purifying water. By the 18th century, copper had come into wide clinical use in the Western world for the treatment of mental disorders and afflictions of the lungs. Furthermore, in the 18th century, it was discovered that no fungi grew on seed grains, that is in agriculture, soaked in copper sulfate. You see this technology that can be useful today? Think about it. Beginning in the early 1950s. Example, biocidal power or biocidal properties of copper and the copper compounds were demonstrated in controlled laboratory studies. The wide range of microorganisms, including gram-negative and gram-positive bacteria, yeast, fungi, and envelope and no-envelope viruses, shown to be killed by copper or copper compounds, are summarized in the table on this paper. Notably, copper surfaces or copper compounds have also been shown to be efficacious against hard to kill spores. Today, copper biocides have become indispensable, and many thousands of tons are used annually all over the world for the prevention of roof moss formation, wood preservation, the control of green slime in farm, pots, rice field, irrigation and drainage canals, rivers, lakes, and swimming pools. You see, every sector needs copper to prevent contamination. Wow. The prevention of downy mildew on grapes and in anti-fouling paints. That's every sector where copper is used, purposely to prevent contamination. No-soluble copper compounds such as degradable phosphate, glass fibers impregnated with copper oxide, glass coated with thin films of copper oxide, or metallic and copper alloys, also exert potent biocidal properties, including against hard-to-kill spores. Importantly, in March 2008, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, approved the registration of copper alloys as materials with antimicrobial properties, thus allowing the Copper Development Association, CDA, to make public health claims. These public health claims acknowledge that copper brass or copper mixture and the bronze are capable to kill more than 99.9% of harmful, potentially deadly bacteria such as methicillin resistant aureus, MRSA, within 2 hours and continue to kill more than 99% of bacteria even after repeated contamination. MRSA is one of the most virulent strains of antibiotic-resistant bacteria and a common cause of hospital and community-acquired infections, as you saw it with COVID. Copper is the only solid surface material to receive this type of EPA registration. Again, let me repeat. Copper is the only solid surface material to receive this type of EPA registration. This approval have now been given to 355 different copper alloys, including brass and bronze, following many years of independent laboratory testing based on rigorous EPA-approved protocols. Copper compounds such as copper sulfate, copper nitrate, and carboxylic chloride, bis-N-diethylamine chloride, bis-N-diethylamine are potent molicicides. Control of snails may be an important strategy in fighting some human diseases such as bilharziosis, because snails can spread bilharzia. So when you fight the snails using copper in your gardens, in agriculture, so you avoid bilharziosis. This is very important. This disease is caused by trematode parasites, Schistosoma mansoni, which uses snails and humans as hosts. Recently, copper metal nanoparticles have been found to control hematophagous parasites. I know some countries which use copper to fight those snails, like Europe, some European countries. Yeah, they use it, I know very well. In the US, they use them very well. In Israel. So maybe Africa is the one which is behind about this issue, but the most developed countries, including India, they use copper for this purpose. However, copper compounds may be toxic to fish and other organisms. This has led to a constant search for and the production of chelated copper compounds. These compounds, on one hand, are biocidal, but on the other hand, do not react with other chemical constituents in water. Therefore, chelated copper water-insoluble compounds such as copper 8 quinolinate linoleate, and some of its derivatives are used to reduce environmental contamination of fungi in hospitals. Biocidal mechanisms of copper. Exposure to copper may result in microorganism death even within minutes. Copper toxicity to microorganisms is achieved through several parallel mechanisms. These include plasma membrane permeabilization, membrane, lipids, peroxidation, alteration of proteins, and inhibition of the biological assembly and activity, and denaturization of nucleic acids. It is likely that the site can be very important. Okay, now let's see some demonstrated biocidal efficacy of copper against some named microorganisms, to include these ones. So the bacteria, let's say about 5 bacteria on the family of Acinetobacter, bacteria on the family of Bacillus cereus, Bacillus globigii, and Bacillus macerans, and bacteria on the family of Campylobacter, Citrobacter, and Clostridium, bacteria in the family of Deinococcus, Radiodendron, Edwardina tarda, bacteria in the family of Edwardina tarda, Enterobacter croatia, Enterococcus sp, E. coli, Escherichia coli, Enterobacter hirate, so on. Bacteria in the family of Klebsiella pneumoniae and Cochuria parustris, Legionella pneumophila, Listeria monocytogenes, Mycobacter and Panthonia strora, Photobacterium and Proteus mirabilis, and bacteria in the family of S, Salmonella spp, Salmonella typhi, Salmonella typhimurium, Sarcinalutea, Serratia macerus, and so on. Singera, Santeria, Singera flavinia, Syphingomonas, and Staphylococcus Staphylococcus aureus, and other types of bacteria, to include Staphylococcus hemolyticus, Staphylococcus hominis, Staphylococcus venereae, Streptococcus focalaris, Streptococcus pyogenes, Streptococcus sp, Vibrio cholerae, and Yersinia pseudotuberculosis, and Xanthomonas complex. Fungi also are killed by copper, to include so many fungi of the family of A, or the family of E, like Candida, family of Candidas, or then they are killed by Candida and the yeast, and even the Fusarium and Penicillium, all those, even Dizoptonia and Trichoderma viride, all those are killed by copper compound. Viruses killed by copper: avian influenza, adenovirus type 1, bacteriophagine, Coxsackie virus types B2 and B4. So the Bible also talk about copper power to kill bacteria. God recommended Moses to tell Aaron to prepare the washing place to wash, to bathe all the time, so that they may not die. That is written in the Bible. Exodus chapter 30, you read all the Bible, that chapter, but specifically from the verse 18, you will find that fact. But that chapter talks about copper and the compound used in the holy place in the temple of Israel when they were in the desert. So, viruses killed by copper are cytomegaloviruses, Echovirus 4, herpes simplex virus, human immunodeficiency virus, that is the one responsible for HIV. Even coronavirus is killed by copper surfaces. So friends, those who always ask me about copper, even infectious bronchitis virus is killed by copper, influenza A, Juni virus, measles, parainfluenza 3, poliovirus, pinchide, Pantatoro, respiratory syncytia virus, rhinovirus 2, Simia rotavirus, SA11, vaccinia, West Nile virus, and the yellow fever. All those viruses are killed by copper. That copper damages is the microorganisms envelope. It was reported that copper containing still adhered to Escherichia coli plasma membrane via the electrostatic forces exerted by copper compound to a significantly greater extent than the austenitic stainless steel not containing copper. So any other material you may see very clean, but cannot kill bacteria, viruses, fungi like copper. This damaged the lipopolysaccharide patches on the outer plasma membrane, causing it to collapse. That is how copper kills microorganisms, while the inner part of the bacteria remained intact. Similarly, it was reported that copper compound recites significant permeability changes in the intact Saccharomyces cerevisiae cells. Extensive copper included induced disruption of membrane integrity inevitably leads to loss of cell viability. However, even relatively small alteration in the physical properties of biological membrane can recite marked changes in the activity of many essential membrane-dependent functions, including transport protein activity and ion permeability. Copper may interact with several microbial proteins, such as with the copper chaperones, without damaging them. However, copper may damage many proteins, both on the microorganism envelope or within the cell. This may occur via displacement of essential metals from the native binding site in the proteins, or via direct interaction with the proteins. In both cases, conformational changes in the protein structure or in the protein active site or may occur, resulting in inhibition or neutralizing of a protein biological activities. For example, HIV-1 protease, an essential protein for the duplication of the virus, is neutralized by stoichiometric concentrations of copper ions. And another example is the oxidation of the cysteine inactive site of vaccinia H1-related protein thyroxine phosphate by phosphatase by copper ions, which results in complete inactivation of the protein activity. Redox between copper and the copper compound results in the formation of hydroxyl radical that may attack amino acids, especially histidine and proline, causing substantial protein alteration and even protein cleavage. Copper ions may interact with the nucleic acid. For example, copper binding site were found on average in every 3 nucleotide in single-stranded DNA, such as that found in many DNA viruses, and in guanine residues in double-stranded DNA. It was suggested that following copper binding to the nucleic acid, the repeated cyclic redox reaction between copper and the copper compound generated the merging oxide radicals, free radicals. However, it was also suggested that although copper binding DNA in vitro stronger competing ligands such as glutathione and cysteine may remove the copper away from the DNA in vivo. Furthermore, recent studies using E. coli lacking copper export genes indicate that copper does not catalyze significant oxidative DNA damage in vivo. Electron paramagnetic resonance scintigraphy assay showed that majority of hydrogen oxide oxidizable copper was located in the ligands away from the DNA. So friends, copper can do many things. This is S Healthcare CNM TV. We have so many